driving habits, you know that you're shit, you're just not. Oh, really? Just that.
Never does it when you're just cruising. It's like a let off coast and a hard car.
And it was snow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the nasty fucking chip.
But they maintain it, it's beautiful, provide it.
And you're right